Good morning and welcome to the Frp Advisory plc AGM 2022 proceedings. Throughout this recorded meeting, attendees will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated in the right-hand corner of your screen. Simply click Q&A, type in your question and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question submitted today. However, all questions will be reviewed, responses published on the Investor Meet Company platform where appropriate to do so. I'd now like to hand you over to Nigel Guy, Non-Executive Chairman of Frp Advisory Group. Good morning.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, everybody. And as everyone has now joined via our platform, I'm pleased to open the 2022 Annual General Meeting of Frp Advisory Group Plc. For this morning's AGM, in the room I have with me Jeff Rowley, our CEO, Gavin Jones, our CEO, Jeremy French, our COO, and David Chubb, Non-Executive Director and Chair of the Audit Committee. Joining remotely are Claire Barmforth, Chair of our Remuneration Committee, and David Adams, a Non-Executive Director. I would like to advise everyone that a trading statement was issued this morning, and this, along with our most recent results covering the period to the 30th of April 2022, are also available from the company's website. I will soon move to conducting the formal business of the AGM and will then open the poll voting for those in the room with us here. Following that, the directors will be available for a brief Q&A session. Shareholders will be given the opportunity to submit questions in advance of the AGM, and as we heard at the start, your questions can also be submitted to our team at any point during the meeting. After the Q&A session, the poll will be closed and the meeting will conclude, and the results will be announced via the RNS after the meeting is finished. We'll now move to the formal business of the meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and thank you for joining us today. As you know, today's meeting was called by a notice of annual general meeting dated 12th of August 2022. That notice explained the various resolutions which are proposed, and today's meeting has been called to consider and if thought fit, pass those resolutions. For this meeting, all resolutions will be voted on by poll. This will ensure that the voting wishes of those shareholders who couldn't join us today in person are also counted. The terms of the resolution are set out in full in the notice of AGM, and I will take these as read unless any member present objects. Thank you. I will now propose the resolutions to the meeting and then open the poll. We have received a large number of proxy votes from shareholders in advance of the meeting and expect to be able to announce the voting results before the end of this meeting. I now propose the 13 ordinary resolutions. The first three ordinary resolutions are to receive the company's audited accounts for the financial position ended 30th of April 2022, together with the director's report and auditor's report thereon. Resolution 2 is to seek approval of the director's remuneration report for the year ended 30th of April 2022, as set out on pages 58 to 61 of the annual report accounts. And Resolution 3 is to declare a final dividend of 1.9 pence per ordinary share for the year ended 30th of April 2022. The next resolutions 4 to 10 are to re-elect each of the non-executive and executive directors, Nigel Guy, Jeffrey Rowley, Jeremy French, Gavin Jones, David Adams, David Chubb, and Claire Barmforth. And that takes into account resolutions 4 to 10. Resolution seeks to appoint Mazars as the company's auditor, while Resolution 12 seeks to authorise the directors of the company to fix the auditor's remuneration for the ensuing year. Resolution 13 is to authorise the directors to allot shares in the company up to the limits set out in the notice of the meeting. Resolutions 14 and 15 are proposed as special resolutions. Resolution 14 seeks the authority to supply preemption rights up to the specific limits as set out in the notice, and Resolution 15 is to authorise the company to make market purchases of its ordinary shares. And with that, I declare the poll open. For those in the room with us here at BCLP's offices, if you'd like to vote now or change a proxy vote already submitted, poll cards are available from our advisors in the room. While the poll is ongoing, we will now move on to the Q&A session and our host will explain the process. over to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Nigel. Ladies and gentlemen, please submit your questions by clicking on the Q&A tab, scrolling to the bottom, typing your question and press send. I'd also like to remind you the recording of the meeting, along with a copy of the slides and any published Q&A, can be accessed via your Investor Meet Company dashboard. I'd also like to remind you that your feedback is important to the company, and immediately after the presentation has ended, you'll be redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order the company can better understand your views and expectations. Nigel, if I may hand back to you, if we do get any questions through, if you could please read out the question and pass that to the relevant member of the team.
Thank you, Paul. We currently have not received any questions online. I will ask if there are any questions from the room. That concludes the questions either online or from the room. And I will hand back to Paul.
Many thank you indeed. That will conclude the Q&A session. Nigel, if there are any final closing comments before we close off the meeting.
Yes, thank you, Paul. We will now collect the poll votes from the room. And as all the poll cards have been collected, I now declare the poll closed. We have collated the results of the poll, and I'm pleased to confirm that all resolutions have been passed. The detailed voting figures will be released via RNS and published on the company's website as soon as reasonably practical. That concludes the business of this annual general meeting, and I therefore declare this meeting closed. Thank you all for joining us today, and I'll hand back to Paul.
Fantastic. Thank you indeed, Nigel. Thank you for updating attendees today. Can I please ask attendees not to close the session? You'll be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order the board can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, and I know it's greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the board of FRP Advisory Group Plc, we'd like to thank you for attending today's annual general meeting proceedings. Thank you very much indeed, and good morning to you all.